For this video, we're going to be looking at the References tab. So when we talk about references, we are talking about the actual reference to a cell. So let us click on our references hyperlink here. So understanding relative and absolute reference. So when we talk about relative and absolute references, we are looking at this bar here, okay? So relative row and column is dealing with blocks A8 to A15. As you can see, A8 and A15 are written as normal. Talking about this column here from A8 to A14. So if we go in and type our formula, if we use the formula sum A8 to A14, we get an answer of 34. The next thing we look at is an absolute row. So as you can now see, our sum is $8 go to $14. That dollar sign represents that those rows have been locked down. So if we move them around, okay, we cannot add in any other rows with that. The next one is absolute column, where the columns have been locked down, so the information will only be looked in the column, right? And the last one is absolute row and column, where the dollar sign is affecting the column and the row. So what does this all mean? Okay, so what happens when you copy and paste the formulas with relative reference, so which is this one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this cell, move it to this block here, and in theory, because we're copying it with the formula and the reference, we should get an answer of 34. If I paste it, the answer of 0 appears. Why? Because I've copied the information and pasted it somewhere else. It is now drawing information from the same type of reference. What this means is the information is coming from here. Because it is looking in this row, that means we are going 1, 2, 3, 4 columns to the left of that information. Because we are now placing it in a new area, in column H, it is looking at 1, 2, 3, 4th row from where the information has been pasted. So it is moving those columns across. So that is why we are now pulling information from D9 to D15. So it's pulling information from D9 to D15. There is no information there for it to calculate. Alright? And also, as you can see, it has moved down one because this block is lower than that block by 1 row. So now I want to also copy this absolute row where the rows have been locked down. I'm pasting the data here. The answer is still 0. The reason behind that is the rows haven't changed, but again the column has. And then the last one we're going to look at here, or second to last, is where the columns are locked down but the rows aren't. So I'm going to copy that. But because now we're looking in the same columns, we should, in theory, get the same answer as 34. No, we don't. We get the answer of 29 because it is looking from 9 to 15. Right? And then the last option is where the rows and columns are locked down. And we paste it. The answer is 34 because it is matching this time around. Alright? So that is the importance of absolute versus relative reference. Relative reference means that the information can change quite easily, where absolute is everything is locked down. No matter where you copy or paste the information within a worksheet or a workbook, the information will always go to those same cells you have locked down. Understanding the impact of moving, deleting, and inserting operations have on references. So what happens to the reference in the sum function when we delete row 31? So let's go here and let's delete row 31. The answer has changed to 24 because we have lost one area. Okay, what happens if we insert the row back? Let's insert. It doesn't change because no information has been added. Okay, now how do we go about writing something with absolute reference in a formula? So I'm just going to use this blank column down here. So I'm going to use the AutoSum function. So I'm going to go sum, and I want to use those as my reference like above. So I've now used that reference. Now I want to go and use absolute row and column somewhere. I'm locking down everything. It's a little bit annoying to go in and type the $sign, right, 4 times. It can be tedious. It's time consuming. So one of the functions that Excel has is if you use your F4 key on a keyboard, right, so what we do is we highlight and we use our F4 key on a keyboard. We can choose between absolute row and column, absolute row, absolute column, or our relative row and column. So that is how you can cycle through the absolute and reference functions quickly. And that is our video on referencing.